excited about is that I run our grants programs. And so, as you all know, or hopefully are aware, the USDA recently clarified that industrial hemp companies and research universities can apply for funding through NEFA. And so that's kind of what we're going to be talking about today. The grants process, how to apply for one, which ones we should be applying for, and all of that jazz. So I'm going to be starting to pass around a couple of different papers. And the first and foremost is the NEFA grant structure. So, are you guys almost there yet?
Yeah.
But before we start, I would love it if we could just go around and quickly say our names and what group or organization we're with. I feel very loud here.
That's okay, that's good.
My name is Tom Dermody. I'm with the Industrial Hemp Research Foundation, a 501c3 based here in Colorado.
Dion Holmquist, Hemp Plus Ventures.
Nick Donaldson, Ganja Capital Advisors.
Mandy Ambrosio, Heal, Colorado.
Veronica Carpio, Grow Hemp, Colorado.
Valerie Coward. I'm an herbalist, and I'm looking to start a business with a tea house,
Great.
hemp tea house.
We definitely need to talk.
Freelance writer and researcher. So just learning more today.
Greg and Mary Sutcliffe, we have some property and we're looking at possibly starting a grow operation.
There you go.
Kehlani Temple. I'm working with Dwayne on starting the hemp industry, and I also do
Just so you know, they consider the tea leaf illegal right now.
What?
The tea leaf, the leaf.
The leaf is illegal, even if it's not hot.
So a little bit of background
It's good to know.
with the symposium and how
I can go into detail
how
with
we
you
got
if you'd
here
like
today.
later.
So this is Congressman Polis' third annual symposium. The very first year we were giving a lot of basics of hemp, of what you do, of how you get into it, a lot of research and the such. Last year we talked a lot about innovation and businesses and how to grow it, but what we've kept finding is that legislatively and funding-wise that there's not a lot of options for our hemp growers. So one of the frustrating things, I don't know if you guys have noticed, Congress doesn't seem to be doing a lot lately, is that we really want to motivate the community to have a clear and concise voice when it comes to federal legislation. Grant funding is a little bit differently because we're trying to give you all a voice in the application process, in the funding opportunities and things like that. But I do want you to all keep in mind that this is really what today is supposed to accomplish. That we want to be able to leave today with 5 things that each and every single person here is going to do. Whether that's apply for this grant and you know exactly the process of doing it, whether it's calling up Senator Gardner and insisting that he, add something into the Farm Bill in terms of, from the Senate side, to define hemp. We will be talking about all of these different things in the small group, and then when we come together as a large group, reviewing them and giving each other our marching orders. So just that way you know what kind of you're getting into for today. Back to grants. So, to start with, the National Institute of Food and Agriculture, which is the grant arm of the USDA, has specifically said that they will now consider grant applications from industrial hemp companies and research universities. This is huge. It's really exciting. There's a lot of money out there for people to apply for. One of the most interesting things about NEFA, as opposed to any other federal agency, is that they usually fund between 15 and 20% of their applicants. That number, compared to the usual 4% that is nationally funded through our grants, is a massive number. So it's something that I think you all should really be taking very seriously in your applications and that whole process. So the very first handout that you guys have is the National Institute of Food and Agriculture. This is their homepage. It's something that I really encourage you guys to go home, check it out, get yourselves familiar with it. Grants processes, they usually have about 8 grants open at any given time. Not every grant is going to be available or appropriate for you to apply for. But this sort of gives you a rundown of why you should apply, of how you decide whether you should apply or things of that nature. At the pre-award, the search is a really important tool. There's two different sort of mentalities when it comes to applications for grants. One is throw as many darts onto the board as possible and hope one sticks. And the other one is try to be as specific as possible and go after the one that you really know that you can do, write the very best application possible, and apply for that one. My suggestion is to do the latter. The first one is great to say you applied for X number of grants this year. That is so much legwork and so much use of your time and resources that it's just not viable. Applying for grants, there's a reason that nonprofits have a full-time grant writer. It is not an easy process. The data that these organizations really require and need and fund upon require you to really step up to make sure that your one grant application is as strong as possible. Now, granted, if you see 5 grants that follow under your purview, all small business grants, and you want to go for it, you should feel empowered to do that, but know that you won't get that. You need to be able to take in the same amount of time that you would on a singular grant that you apply for. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. The second document that you guys would have gotten that has gone around is applying for federal grants, and this is our grant guide that we put out through our office. And I want to go over this just a little bit because there's a lot of different things that you can apply for grants for. Education, government, nonprofit, for-profit, and also small businesses. So all too often I get calls from small businesses that say, well, you can't help me because I'm applying for a grant. Well, we can. We can't help you as much as necessarily a government or municipal, which there are a ton of grants available for small governments. But SBA has quite a few different grants, with USDA leading really the charge of saying that they're going to be funding industrial hemp companies. I really do see that the trickle-down effect is going to start happening. The other part is that if we don't apply for them, we don't put the name out there, they're never going to know that the hemp community wants and or needs funding. And I think that that's one of the hardest conversations that we're going to have today, is the fact that I'm going to say, well, go apply for it, let's see what happens. But the truth is that nobody's been applying for these. So SBA has no idea if your small business in fact needs a grant or needs a loan, and if or why they would fund it, because they haven't gone through the channels to have approval or unapproval yet. So I don't want to give you the impression that it's going to be fruitless, that you're not going to receive a grant, but do know that you will get rejected as you go through the grant applying process. I've never met a small business or a nonprofit that has gotten every single grant they've ever applied for. And if they have, that grant writer should be commended. Hats off to them.
I need to hire them
Seriously.
immediately.
So developing a grant proposal. This is one of the most important things that you can do for your business as well as just your own grant process. So your grant proposal is going to cover a lot of different grounds, but it's also going to make you think really thoughtfully and critically about your nonprofit or your small business in a way that you probably haven't thought about before, in terms of actual legitimate numbers and how that grant, if you received that money, would benefit your business. So grants really like, if I'm going to give you $1,000, right, that's exciting. I don't have it, sorry. But if I'm going to give you $1,000, sure, your bank wants you to pay that back, but they don't really care what you do with that $1,000, right? They're okay with it. If it's for your home loan, they're not going to come after you to make sure that it was for that one faucet in your house in that bathroom seat. A grant, though, is going to say, okay, you've got $1,000 for your grant, then I'm going to need to see A, B, and C. And if instead you give me C, D, and E's objectives at the end, they're going to ask that you give some of that money back. So that is part of the reason why a grant proposal is very important. So when you start thinking about it, when you start planning critically your plan for using that $1,000, you know what your outcomes are going to be with those dollars. Questions on that part? No? All right. You guys, this can be interactive. You can have a little give and take. sometimes feel a little bit like Sideshow Bob.
Where's Rusty?
So writing the grant proposal. This is oftentimes where people get incredibly overwhelmed
Yeah.
and just say, nope, I'm good. Because truth of the matter is, grant writing language is its own beast. It is its own thing that, again, there's a reason it is a full-time profession for some. My suggestion here is to go to your SBA offices and have them help you with it, to go with your workforce development offices. Colorado Nonprofits has a phenomenal resource and database. I cannot say that enough. Use them. They have grant writers that volunteer for free. Use them. There's oftentimes grad students who need things for their resumes. These are great resources that you should for sure use. So it was Colorado Nonprofit Association. Thank you. I was like, what is the next word? So they're based down in Denver. They do great work. They're often up here in northern Colorado doing workshops and things like that. Really suggest you guys getting a hold of them. The other one is your small business offices. Develop a relationship with your local person. They're great resources. The SBA wants to help out small businesses, especially in today's economy. So, and then it goes down to project evaluation. This is the aftermath, right? Did you do A, B, and C? Great, you did A, B, and C. But then what does A, B, and C lead to? And this specifically goes into future funding. So one of the things that oftentimes when people apply for grants and they get a grant and say, yes, so you get that $1,000 grant. And it was specifically to buy 30 seeds, right? Or 30 different varieties of seeds. And you're going to plant, and you're then going to research and develop them. Well, that's great. You bought those seeds, so now what? And so when you're talking about future funding, you should always go back to your previous funding and how you successfully applied it. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. USDA especially loves to see direct outcomes of funding. They love it. They think it's awesome. They want to get the same good actors, the same players that have been using their money smartly and they know that they're using it well, money again. They're not like, oh, we've already given Veronica $1,000. I'm not going to give her $1,000 again. Instead, they're going to look at Veronica's proposal and say, hey, we gave her $1,000. Not only did she do A, B, and C, she is now ready for steps D, E, and F, and with an extra $500, she can get there. And I know that she's going to use the money in the way that she said she would. Yeah, let's give her $500 to do that. So making sure that you tie it back to future funding is a very, very important tool to using your future funding processes. Questions about this helpful grants guide?
I just have two questions. One, is this specifically good for like if you want to buy tractors? Or does it not allow you for property purchases, for example, or water rights?
So, water rights as a whole.
Well, I mean, if you're purchasing some kind of water, does that?
So property, there are grant opportunities out there for specifically farm equipment.
Okay.
So land property, no. It's an underfunded thing.
Right.
Mostly because the federal government is having an internal moral debate with itself versus public lands and private lands, and whether we should really be, if we fund private lands, is that therefore a public land? Comes convoluted. So, but there are grants available for farming equipment that are available. Those are more challenging to receive as a small business as opposed to a nonprofit. Just being honest about that situation.
Okay.
Question two?
Okay, so the other question is this something that could be used, like if I wanted to study how like the Native American reservation could benefit from our industrial hemp programs here, either through work or through a project or a product?
Yes.
Is this something that...
Yes, so I'm going to talk a little bit about NEFA funding, and NEFA funding does not so much include that. And that's for a couple of different reasons. NEFA really likes to make sure that it's going to farming and food and agriculture specifically, as opposed to research and development. But there are a ton, especially Native American funds out there for
Really?
grant funding in the research and development
Wow,
sector.
that's good.
So there's this very helpful website, which should be more prominently displayed on here, but it is not, called grants.gov. It is a glorious website that has all of the information you could ever want on a grant. It also can be incredibly overwhelming. So my suggestion is, if you look on the very, that's not where it is. Okay? You're gonna go to polis.house.gov, which is our website right there on back. And there is a grant assistance spot. Sorry, I'm loud. There's a grants assistance drop down. And in that is an application that I encourage you all to fill out.
Ooh.
It might seem cumbersome and long,
see that?
but what happens is that after
A
you
little
fill that out,
course.
it'll then be mailed to
Oh,
you.
very nice.
And I'll be able
Yeah.
to look at specifically what funds you're going after,
Exactly. I've never had that
and you'll
before.
put it into my grants database.
I'm ready to
So
return my
when
degrees
grant
for a
comes up
refund on my student loan.
specifically for research on Native
possible.
American water rights, I will be able to send that to Veronica as opposed to Veronica searching for it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So please do that so I can get you into
Okay,
our
good.
grants newsletter and our grants database and all of that.
Thank you.
So now is the good stuff. What grants can I apply for? These are each 2 pages. So take 2 pages and pass it down. I did not have time to staple. I am sorry.
And I guess just one other question is, how long ahead of time should you prepare? Like, you can't just submit something and expect to get money in a month or 6 months.
No.
What is?
I usually suggest people giving it a 6-month cycle.
Oh, okay.
So give yourself, so you're going to apply, let's say that the application deadline is November 1st, right? So you put it in this week because November 1st is Tuesday and you've
Right.
got everything.
Thank you.
You need to give that, like by the time that they ask for second submissions and if they open it back up, I always suggest 6 months.
Okay.
You want to grab one and have this is just a single.
I like free money,
Who doesn't?
especially for ag stuff. There's
Yeah,
like a ton
right.
of stuff we need to buy.
Right.
I mean, machines, equipment, processing. I mean, tractors, combines. I mean, there's endless amounts right now. Oh, is this the same one? No.
This is just
No,
one,
that's
right?
a different one.
This is a different one
Yeah.
too.
Right, but I think that's just one, and this one's this one. Oh wait,
Did we already get this one?
The agriculture
They all
is
look very
2 pages.
Oh, okay.
there's just one then.
This is
Oh
one.
no, well, I
This is
see
a
it.
one
Look,
pager.
there's one of one
This
and
is
one
a
two on the
new one
bottom.
we don't have.
So smart we are.
Exploratory research.
Did you get that one? Oh, sorry.
I don't have
Wait,
that
I
one.
think Verana's. Wait, did you get that one?
I have phase one.
Oh, one page. Got it.
Yep.
She has that too.
Okay, so there's 3 going.
Yes.
You want to keep Kelly? I don't know what happened.
That's okay. We're on it.
You should ask me lots. My goal will happen.
What?
By the time I
That's good. Wait, proof for scientific and technical feasibility of the approach or concept. Well, energy, ooh.
Okay, so first of all, we're going to start with the AFRI,
Wow, look at-
Foundational Exploratory Research.
Totally us.
So, when you go to the NEPA website and you click search for grants, you will have a selection of different grants that are open. They keep them all in order of closing date. So it's really important that you look at the closing date. So if you
Deadlines.
look at this one, and this is just the edited version to give you a short, brief description of what the grant is and who is eligible to apply for the grant. So, here's your eligibility to apply to your land grant institutions from all of the different years, for-profit organizations, Hispanic serving institutions, private institutions of higher ed, small business, state agriculture experiment stations, state-controlled institutions of higher ed. This one is like under the sun, all of the ones can apply for this one. The list above is abbreviated. All others may be eligible to apply. This is something that's really helpful if you're interested in applying for a grant, but you're just not 100% positive if it's worth your time. Give our office a call. We have congressional liaisons who specifically deal with our offices, and I can say, hey, Chris Wogan wants to apply for grants, and it's for a small business with XY certification. And they can say, oh, yeah, it's not a problem. And I can call you back and help them. Unless you call that 1-800 number on grants.gov, which is going to take you through many circles. Just give our office a call. We can help navigate those. So this is a grant that I really encourage all of you here to apply for.
Which one is that?
This is the exploratory research. So
okay.
this
That's the one
program
I
area
want.
encourages continuous development of innovative ideas that will position the U.S. agriculture at the global forefront. If industrial hemp isn't going to do that, I don't know what is, right? That's kind of what we're here today to talk about. Hemp, the economy, and innovation on the global forefront. This is what we have. So these developments will lead to quantum leaps in the agricultural fields. Using industrial hemp as an ag product is obviously right up that alley. This is something that I think that industrial hemp is poised to apply for, and I really encourage it.
Is this really under the category weed science?
It is.
Take a picture. That's awesome.
Go you, sir.
Very
a few
observant,
important dates.
Nick.
So if you notice, it was posted in May. The closing date is next March.
Oh,
You might be
wow.
like, oh my God, so much time.
This is
Year.
the
don't
one
have to
I
apply.
like.
These
This one for
grants
carbon
are,
sequestration.
Are evaluated on a rolling basis. So what that means is that when you put in your application, they're going to look at it, which means you might get funding in December as opposed to next April. So put your application in when it is ready as opposed to waiting for the deadline. You will get no more or less preferential treatment on when you apply, but you can get your funding sooner. So if it is a rolling application, always apply, because then you can get, like we talked about, that timeline moved up right away. So this is a bill or a grant that I really encourage most everybody in this room to apply for. I also included the Small Business Innovation Research Program, Phase 1. It is technically closed right now. They are talking about opening it up, so I wanted it on everybody's radars. That grant itself funds at 14%. That's huge, that's massive, that's amazing for a small business grant. That never happens. Apply for it when it reopens. I can't stress that enough. And then the last grant that came up is
And
the
there's $8
Agricultural
million
Food
of total funding
Initiative.
available.
And this is specifically about climate change and the environment.
Love that.
So if your hemp
Wow. Where did you see that? How much is
It's
this
like a
one?
page.
dealing specifically with climate change
no.
and the environment.
Wait,
this is a
maybe it's a
grant
different
that I
one.
Does it, no, I was just looking at this one to see if there's one. I like that one the most. The last one.
Yeah, it's a good one. So, in our last 3 to 5 minutes, I want to write down a few goals and achievables, because I swear you're all walking out of this room where there's the death of me, goals and things to do.
Great. More stuff to do. Just kidding. We'll do it for him.
That's right. I quit just to make these things happen.
We'll make it happen for you, Mara.
Read symposiums.
And you're getting younger and more beautiful every time.
So nice.
So,
You do.
what are some things that are for sure going to come out of this today, after this grant workshop? What are you guys going to go do?
I'm going to work on looking into this one for carbon sequestration, perhaps some kind of incentive for farmers, because I think that's the future. For
I like
a,
it.
and then me and Dion are going to go apply for Native American educational stuff and home building and job opportunity things.
Oh, look at all those puzzles.
Yeah, right.
Chris, what are you going to do?
Calling people out and stuff.
All right.
Playing around.
That's enough. Nick?
I'm going to collaborate with our local research foundations who have great contacts at the universities and see if we can't be a supplier of isolated cannabinoids.
Just teared up. I'm sorry.
Oh man.
Oh gosh. Somebody go to the Kleenex. I know.
Yeah.
We should talk about that. I have a better about that. Just the CBD stuff. We're going to talk about the soil sequestration because there's the new buzzword is soil composting farming, and the government's funding.
You're welcome. All right. Guys, thank you so much. I hope this was helpful information.
Yes, thank
Yeah.
you.